March 2023, last day of March. We're going to do an update today on what's happened in the quarter, the first 3 months of 2023 in Ocala, Marion County. We're going to be looking at new listings. We're going to be looking at pending properties. We're going to see some things that I think are a little bit different than most of the country. We're going to also look at some things that are very similar to what we're seeing in other parts of Florida. We're going to do a little bit of a comparison there. And as you can tell, look, we're looking at 260 new listings over the last 7 days in Marion County, 319 properties that went under contract in Marion County last 7 days. That obviously includes Ocala, that includes Bellevue, Denellen, places like that. But this gives you a real indication. This is what we're seeing pretty much all of 2023. So far this year, this has been pretty consistent. Marion County has been pretty consistent all the way across the board for sure. And some of the similarities that we're seeing around the country are that in certain areas, actually not around the country, around Florida specifically, is that we're seeing more properties go pending as opposed to properties that are under contract. Okay. Or I'm active rather. So seeing more properties go under contract than new properties coming on the market, which means that there's a slight decrease in active inventory, which means there are less properties to choose from on a weekly basis because more properties are going under contract during that 7-day number, as opposed to newer properties that are coming on the market. And just give you an idea, 2557 is our number for active properties in Marion County, obviously Summerfield, Denellen, Bellevue, Ocala area. And that's been a slow decline in inventory. So going from about 2,900 homes, probably about 120 days ago, which means that prices could go up. It's a very interesting dynamic because the rest of the country, we're seeing a different type of thing. What we are seeing around the country is that inventory is growing a little bit, and we're seeing homes being harder to sell around the country. Florida seems to be one of the few places where there's actually more buyers coming into our market than people wanting to leave, which is not terribly surprising for several reasons. But we are seeing a decrease in inventory, slight, not a massive increase, but slight increase in pricing. I think there are some opportunities for buyers out there to look at some properties that maybe they were priced too high. So sellers that are trying to really push the envelope on pricing are not winning. But the people that are pricing their homes correctly, looking at what happened over the last 90, 120 days and basing their price based on that, as opposed to, oh, they were priced at 300, so then we go to 320. If they're saying, okay, comps are saying 300 and we're pricing at 300, maybe 305, then you're okay. All right. I think that's the lesson in all this. That's the big takeaway is we're not seeing aggressive ramps up in pricing. We're seeing a leveling off, maybe a slight increase in pricing. And then buyers are starting to see less of a choice. The only good thing is that we are seeing new construction take hold and have seen that over the last several years. So there are more options available. So that helps. But overall, a really strong marketplace, not the best marketplace we've seen, like the strongest. We saw that about 1.5 to 2 years ago, for sure, for sellers. I think it gives buyers a little bit more of an opportunity, but definitely a tug of war right now between buyer and seller. I think it's more even now because both sides are, you can still get a pretty decent deal. You can negotiate a little bit, right? Yes, for sure. I think people do need to be paying attention right now to the numbers. Look at the stats. Beware of folks that are, either being overly optimistic, like, oh, things are great, things are amazing, which I know a lot of people in the real estate space have a tendency to do that because it can be self-serving. But also on the negative side where people are looking for clickbait and it's like, oh my God, things are going to crash and like prices are going to go and I don't think we're going to see either. Right now, what we're seeing is we're seeing many more people want to move into our area, Marion County, Ocala. That's an obvious thing. People want to move into our area for obvious reasons. We're still one of the lowest priced metros in Florida. So that's something that is very attractive. And Norma, good afternoon. And from the seller side, the good news is there's still demand. And I think a lot of that has to do with predicated to the millennials that are buying. People are starting families, and even though the interest rates, I think, were just under 6, and if you, depending on who you're going to for mortgages, you could still find that under 6 rate. And of course, if you're looking at a 15-year, you're actually going to get a little bit better rate for sure. And as far as like agricultural land, depending on how many acres you're looking for, depending on what is important to you as far as where do you want to be close to, there's most of the property that I can tell that seems to be, when you go obviously in the northwest part of Marion County, that's going to be a little bit more expensive typically. I'm still seeing some pretty decent deals on land, just like, okay, right, to actually, 3, 4, 5 acre plus properties. Summerfield seems to be very interesting. You can get into Oxford. Some of the southern parts of the county could be very, very interesting and maybe a little bit more affordable, but it depends on what you're looking for, not necessarily size wise, but what do you want to be close to? Because we're in a massive county in Marion County. But I think some of the better deals, the best deals, when you're talking about like pricing, if you go into northern Florida, or like north of Gainesville, you're going to find some better deals. But sometimes that could be out of the mix, right? So 5 acres, 30, under 30, you're probably, I don't even know if anything like that. Let's do a search. Let's take a look. Since we're live, we can do this, right? Let's take a look at, I'm just going to do a search for you. Let's take a look at what's available. So let me put this in, doing this on the spot, bear with me. But yeah, I think that there are some interesting things going on. And by the way, we're putting together a quarterly report. If you're interested in quarterly reports, just you can send me a text and say you're interested in some quarterly reports on what the market is actually doing, and you can actually find me at, you can actually text me at 352-572-3796, 352-572-3796. That's the best way to connect with me. And let's see. So, all right. So we got acreage, and I'm going to, let's put in some size here. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to say 2 to 5 and then 5 to 10. I'm going to put both in here to see what's available. And I'm going to open up the parameters and say, okay, 0 to 50,000 for anybody else that might be interested. And there's quite a bit, right? Like there's 0 to 50, there's quite a bit in various areas. Let me narrow it down to Marion County though. This is giving me everything. So I'll narrow it down to Marion County. And we got 10 properties that fit that description. Let me do a share screen with you so you can see what I'm looking at. Yeah. I mean, you could probably, let's take a look. I'm going to let you know if that's legit or not. Fort McCoy is probably going to be the least expensive. The thing you have to watch out with vacant land that's inexpensive is obviously I would go through a title company, obviously, or attorney if it's for sale by owner, attorney, title company with a realtor, of course, makes it a little bit more legit. Fort McCoy is going to be probably the least expensive land. You got to make sure it's not in a flood zone, right? This is actually one right here for 45,000. That's 3 plus or minus acres. Looks like, yeah, it's 3 acres. $15,000 an acre for this one in Fort McCoy. That's probably going to be that's pretty much what you're looking at ballpark. You're looking at 2 to 5 acres. You're seeing here 30 to 50, and then there's one in Fort McCoy that's 5 to 10 at 50,000. You have to watch out on flood zone in those areas because there's a lot of low-lying areas. This one's 8 acres in Fort McCoy, black sink campsites. So if you have questions about that, Norman, just let me know. But yeah, be careful. Make sure you're buying with a legitimate source. And and make sure you're doing those things, either attorney, title driven. Don't just give your cash to anybody out of the blue, obviously. You want to make sure you're going through the proper channels. And if you have questions, even if you're working with someone else and you just need another person to bounce it off, just let me know. You can text me anytime. Glenn Stein, Realty Executives here, broker owner, and by the way, I've been in this marketplace since 1995, selling real estate since 2000. And I know the marketplace well. And of course, if you need help with a rental, let me know about that. Sent you a purchase agreement. If it's a FAR bar, if it has like Florida, it says FAR bar, vacant land contract. It should say that, right? It should say, it's written by Florida attorneys, Florida Association of Realtors, or FAR bar, Florida Association of the Bar Association of Florida. That's how you can tell, right? And by the way, and this is like free advice. I don't even want to, looks like you're working with someone. So even if I'm certainly not going to get in the way of that, but if you want to send me a picture of that, you can actually text that to me and I can tell if it's legit, right? So do that for sure. Okay. 352-572-3796. Be careful out there for real, like if it sounds too good to be true, but that sounds like it could be within the price limit of what's realistic, as we're looking at this one here as well. Happy Friday, everybody. Take care.